Kakank. Oh, what a day. What a glorious day. Oh, what is that?
That's from a friend of the show, Ken and James, his Kickstarter.
Wow, it came out already? We're supposed to have him on the show soon. We can talk about that. That's fantastic. I love his stuff. Guys, the boys of summer have returned. You know, you were about to drive off to Jones Beach and you were looking in the backseat for that beach read, but you were really looking for pencil to pencil. That's what you were looking for. You just couldn't put your hand on it. But here we are. Guys, you know, when you see 3 expert cartoonists with smiling, angelic countenances, it must mean a couple of things. 1, it must be Wednesday, 8 p.m. EST. That's 2. And 3, it means it must be pitch me. I must be dreaming time. That's right. We have returned. We had a little bit of a respite, but as we all know, expert cartoonists never rest. We don't know what that word means.
Yeah, you guys had a respite. I didn't have
it. I didn't have a respite.
You guys laying around.
Who told you I had
dunes, eating Warner Dunes, just like, you know,
eating lady fingers.
Lady fingers, you know, just like laying on the floor, watching TV.
Oh, I wish. But guys, we're really happy to be back. We have a banger of a show tonight, and you know, I'm glad that we're able to come back to you with such fresh, engaging content. Let's do some intros, guys. I am your first co-host. My name is JAMAR NICHOLAS. I wear many hats besides this one. I am the 2nd vice president of the National Cartoonist Society, and I'm also the Philadelphia chapter chair. Go Birds! Beyond all those other really fun things, I'm also a graphic novelist. I have a series at Scholastic underneath the graphics imprint. Leon Extraordinary, Leon Worst Friends Forever is in stores now. Tell them, Steve Conley.
Cop it. Why don't you?
I love it when a plan comes together. But I would be remiss. I would be in remission if I did not introduce you to. He just beat Jimmy Superfly Snuka at the Garden last week. And he's climbing up the ranks to world title contention. He's coming back for the World Heavyweight Championship of Webcomics. Guys, you know him in these streets as Stone Cold Steve Conley. What up, Steve Conley?
I missed you guys so much. I think the pinch me part is the part where, wait, I'm a cartoonist? I'm so excited. I don't know how many times, or how often it occurs to you guys how lucky we are to do this kind of thing. It is, I mean, sometimes it's like, oh. But it's also super lucky. I feel so fortunate, but I'm super fortunate to be with you guys most Wednesdays. But my name is Steve Conley. I write and draw the webcomic The Middle Age, your 73rd favorite webcomic, and it's climbing the charts. You can read it over on Webtoons, Tapas, Go Comics, and my own website, steveconley.com. And I also make the TTRPG stuff. So if you play the Dungeons and the Dragons and you roll the dice, you play the stuff like that, go check out my stuff. And my new one, the coming soon page for Stabracadabra. If you go to stabracadabra.com, you can sign up to be notified when it goes live. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention the Tower of Power, the Man of the Hour, Too Sweet to Be Sour, the marvel of mark making, the majestic, the mercurial Mike Manley.
Oh.
Will I be nice? Will I be spicy? Will I be cold and aloof?
Is that umami Mike Manley?
Hello, everyone. I am the master of your childhood. That's right. I just had somebody tell me that. Was it 2 days ago? I drew their childhood.
Wow.
I get that all the time now. You know, I'm sort of like the chew and save Santa Claus, you know, it's like a long time Santa Claus. Keep returning to you over and over again, bringing you the gifts of the past.
Do you have that Santa Claus from last year smell? Like,
right. They're like, oh man, it's all stuck together now. I guess we better throw it out.
That's fantastic. So, Mike, in this instance, when somebody said you drew my childhood, what up, Scott Kurtz? Did they mention exactly what they were referring to?
What was it? I think it was when I posted some Superman Adventures stuff recently.
Oh yeah, you've been posting a lot of that lately.
Yeah. came across some Xeroxes of some pages the other day, and I posted that. And that, that's getting on now because the show was in '96, and so I was doing that stuff like in the early aughts, which are 25 years ago now. It's funny how you think. In fact, Facebook reminds me every day of your memories, and like every year now it's like, it's longer ago, and because I think I joined Facebook in 2008, right when I started back at school at the academy, right? I think because that was right when sort of like MySpace bombed, like MySpace kind of took one on the chest. Right. So so it's weird to see stuff. And the older you get, the funnier time will be. Because you think, I saw something today that was like 5 years ago? Already 5 years ago? But I don't know if it's the same for you guys or other people, but I also think the pandemic kind of did a really weird like time warp things.
I keep calling it the blip because it feels like the MCU, like we're back. And
there's been so much compressed in the last 5 or 6 years that really it's like a gravity well. It sort of like distorts things that happened 10 years ago. So you see something 5 years ago and it seems like, wow, that can't already be 5 years.
Yeah. And just on top of just as we get older, like you said, just time starts to just kind of move faster. I feel like we all aged like 7 extra years coming out of that.
The middle age, which launched in 2016, is 9 years old on Friday. I've been doing that for 9 years. I just started it. I don't know what.
It's already going to college. It's already starting to look at college applications.
Yeah.
Where's it going to school, Steve?
Keep it out of my liquor cabinet.
That's right. You got to
mark in the bottle. Yeah.
Well, back when I used to work at the colleges, and I would talk to the students about how, again, time is compressed in this weird way, especially those 4 years when you're in school, where it's almost like every semester is a year of your life, not an actual year. So it's like you think about, you move into a place, you hate your roommate, somebody falls out of a window, then you go home for break, then you come back, and then that next semester you're in a different apartment, maybe. You know what I mean? Like a whole new friend group. Things are happening so fast.
The unfortunate college death.
Hey,
it mars you forever.
It happens. And then Frankie fell off the party porch. Like it happens. So just like, even I think that's the beginning of you starting to understand that time goes way too fast.
Older people used to tell me that when I was younger. Right? Yeah. Now I'm one of those older people, right? They used to say, the older you get, the faster time goes. And it sort of is true. I think the difference maybe is with artists, you have like a really clear record of like, every day Facebook reminds me. And now they do a thing where they also remind you what you posted on Instagram. Right? Mm-hmm. So you say, oh, wow, I did that 10 years ago. I did that 15 years ago. I did that 20 years ago. I was flipping through stuff. You see stuff that you drew in your teens. Right? So it's a little bit different because it's very specific when you have like a fossil record, literally a fossil record of your life that you can like, here, go through, flip, it's interesting. Sometimes you see something that you did a long ago that you
spirits leave my bedside.
Yeah. So it's sort of, it's interesting, but the fun thing is to, like with that Superman stuff, is to put something up like that so many people really enjoyed, really enjoyed. And I think that's one of the nice things about being a cartoonist. It's a little bit different maybe sometimes than being even an illustrator, or maybe even being a painter, because you know, you get a lot of fans of like very specific things. Like a lot of people will like this issue of something that you drew. Oh, I remember that, you know. And then someone's always discovering it with some of this stuff, you know.
Well, you know what? Go ahead. Finish your thought.
I was going to say that you guys in about 10 years will start to get that, because you will have people who read your stuff who were 10, and then they're going to be out of college. And when you're doing stuff, they'll go, I remember you're the guy who did that thing. My grandma bought me Leon after the car accident happened.
Right. It's just locked in. Right. Yeah.
I remember that Nibblemancy book that my grandma bought me after I lost all my limbs.
It's always great.
I could no longer roll the dice, but I read your book, Steve Connolly.
It's grandma's fault.
If I can make one limbless kid happy.
Hold on. So with that, Scott Kurtz just said something in the chat and just threw me off. I'll save it for the show. Guys, I'm really excited to be back. We have a fantastic guest in the wings. For some of you guys who haven't been in our live stream before, you might be going like, what is even happening right now?
Was this Henny Youngman has returned from the dead?
But so, you know, the three of us who have storied careers in just different kind of like avenues of creative fields over the years, have a rich show all of its own without guests. But sometimes we have guests who bring their own richness to the fabric of creativity.
Their own cookies.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, it's always cool when chefs can share recipes, right? So this person that we have on the show tonight, I just met not too long ago in my new foray as a author/illustrator. I've, you know, kind of unlocked a whole new portal of people. It's almost like in those shows where the dimension gate opens up and there are people who are like, come this way, we have cookies, come this way. And on the other side of that, I met Kaz Windness, and oh man, she is a ball of light, and I can't wait to talk to her. And one of the things that I fell in love with that I'm talking about her when she's like right out of earshot is that she has been magnificently using the social medias to educate, enhance, and enliven the book business. I'm excited, not even just to talk about her as an author, illustrator, instructor, professor, just talking about the social media usage and how, you know, there's kind of a moment of care that all of us, not all of us, but a lot of us want to give back to the community. It's like, I have these questions about this world you're from, but I don't know where to look or how to find it. Hey, I'll tell you. And I think that's a really important resource, especially now when we live in a world where you don't know what's real anymore. Right. So I've talked enough. Guy, I got crap on the screen. Hold on, let me clear the screen. You can't see your name. Kaz Windness is with us tonight. Let's prepare for rendering, and we're going to have a great show. Please welcome Kaz to Pencil to Pencil. Prepare for rendering. Ping! I got a new renderer. What up, Kaz?
Hey,
Hey.
thanks so much for having me on the show. This is so fun to be hanging out in the green room and
I
smiling
know.
at you all and getting the banter. And what is a true and safe Santa Claus? Is that like an inside joke or an actual thing?
Mike he just went with it. Yeah.
I just, that's my brain. Santa Claus.
Perfect. I love it. I'm going to remember that.
Kaz, I started the show talking about how we kind of briefly met, and I was also telling you a little while ago that I think the makeup of the pencil pushers, as D. Parson calls the chat, is a makeup of a lot of different type of people. There's a lot of pros that watch the show, like Scott Kurtz, the famous Scott Kurtz is in the chat, and there's also a lot of people who are maybe fans of the comic book.
My mom and dad.
Hey, Mom. Hey, Dad.
The Manleys are watching. Newspaper strip people, animation, film, TV. Like there's all types of people in here. But when I kind of found myself doing graphic novels for Scholastic, it kind of opened this whole other gate of people. And it was, it's kind of started this conversation. It's like, well, how did that happen? Isn't this just like comics? Is it the same thing? And they're totally different, but the same.
Yeah, exactly.
So when Kaz and I met, we were at this I kind of call it like Secret Wars. What is that? Oh no, you have a.
This says JAMAR will save the world.
Yo,
this was in my purse for many months. I've been carrying you around. My kids, my family know who you are. Anything goes wrong, we're like, and a lot of things have gone wrong.
I didn't do it, I swear. But I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna fix it.
Yeah, you're gonna fix it with a pencil, which I think is nice.
And it's coming right out of my chin. That's very interesting.
You're like a pencil topper.
We met at this event full of children's like middle grade and YA and kid
picture book and all of that. Yeah,
kid lit authors. And I stood in this giant room. There was probably 70 of us. There were a lot of us here. That thing. And I was just kind of like, wow, this is almost like a superhero movie. Like everybody just kind of showed up. Everybody's got superpowers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I wait for Thanos to show up and we all started fighting him or something.
Right.
But Kaz appeared and we kind of hit it off really quickly. And I loved your energy. I loved how inviting and open you were, and that you had like this kind of institutional knowledge I could see without even have to asking you a lot of questions.
It's the glasses. I don't even need them. I just wear them because it makes me look like I know stuff.
I love it. And the longer that I've been in this universe and just kind of navigating some of the waters, I find out how much people don't really know about it.
Oh yeah.
So I thought you would be a fantastic guest to come and talk about picture books in your own career and all that kind of stuff.
Is 100% my topic. Has been since I was a little kid. I'm super duper passionate about children's book. That is my whole life. It's my whole deal.
So, I don't want you to have to be the arbiter for children's books, but you're the only one we're talking.
Yeah, you don't put me in that position.
No, I don't want to put that on. So, but I guess I'll just start at the top and then we can work our way back down. I think people think that doing children's books is easy.
Or less important.
Right.
So I think what you're talking about, that whole time thing really ties in nicely. And what you were saying about, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, people are going to have you as a memory. That book is a core memory because all that stuff gets packed down into that childhood, the stuff the foundational stuff that you build everything else off of. So for me, people are like, well, when are you going to write a real book? And what they're referencing is like an adult book or something, not that kind of adult book, but maybe that kind of adult book. It's all fine. No judgment. But for me, and not a judgment call on anything else, I just personally feel like children's literature, the stuff that they consume as little people, is so important. It's like everything important. And also to your point about this idea that it's easy, especially now in the era of ChatGPT, where you can just tell it to write you a story and you think it's great, and then we'll put some AI imagery on it and call it a book. Like kids deserve so much more than that, and I really care. So, even I had a wonderful new editor, and she was saying, well, these silly chickens, I'm so excited to be, goofy chickens is what she said. And I sat with goofy, she didn't mean anything by it, but I'm like, to me, they are real people with real problems, and they have to save the world. And I take this very goofy concept super seriously. And I think you'll see that love and care in everything I do. It matters to me because I know it matters to the kids. Like, it gives me chills. Like, when the world is doing what it's doing, I know that I'm making a difference. Even for one child to pick up my book and feel seen or safe or understood, that matters. That makes a difference. And it makes a long-term difference too. So it all matters. Like, I love comics. I love all of that. But children's book, that's my heart right there.
That's your jam. That's your jam.
That's my jam. Yep.
So maybe we'll kind of do the freeze frame and then go back in time. So, Kaz, how did you get here?
Well, when a man and a woman love each other very
love it.
Like, how did I get to this seat and this? You're talking career stuff, right?
Yeah, okay. A little bit, yeah.
All right, so I'm one of those kind of rare people that I always knew what I wanted to do, from the jump. And we were a very bookish literary household. My grandmother was a career editor at a church magazine, but she was a poet. She was a writer. And, I had a lot of artists, like artist adjacent woodworkers and, just salt of the earth kind of people in my family. So, I was always surrounded by books. We didn't have a TV when I was little. I remember going to the library probably every single week because we didn't have a TV and we lived on the railroad tracks and, we needed some entertainment. So my mom would take us to the library. We would fill up a wagon. The librarian would always say, there's no way that you're going to read all these books. We would read them in 1 week, come back, say, what else do you have? So I just remember falling in love with books in my mother's lap, And so for me, there was difficulty in my childhood, and that was always my safe space, my comfort, both my escape, but also the window into seeing that other people had feelings and experiences like I did. And me being neurodivergent, me being autistic, me being ADHD, like there's this kind of, I don't know if neurotypical people kind of just understand things in a way. I never had that. So understanding things through literature, like you can hear what people are saying when you're reading a book. It's a very intimate, transparent sort of thing. So I fell in love with books that way. And then I remember, I think it was kindergarten, and I'm an Army brat. We moved around a lot. So there was a lot of that kind of chaos. But I remember in kindergarten that there was a bookmark contest, and 101 Dalmatians had just come out, the original release of that film.
Not the Meryl Streep version.
No, not that one. So all the kids were really into 101 Dalmatians. They're drawing puppies on the bookmarks. And I had just been introduced to Maurice Sendak's Where the Wild Things Are. And little Kaz was drawing monsters, and she was drawing a lot of monsters. And I think it was like many grades that were in this bookmark contest sort of thing. And guess who won that bookmark contest thing? So I'm like, ooh, this feels good. I like that. I'm going to do what the thing that Maurice Sendak's doing. That's my deal. I'm doing that. That's done, sold. Maybe I'll also be a ballerina if that works out. Maybe 5
you
foot
do
tall.
everything when you're that age, right?
You do it all at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the ballerina thing didn't work out for reasons. And I do children's books. Yeah.
I love it. Do you want to? Should we show your adorable?
Yeah, you can share my lovely slides that I have prepared for you. So I go this way. Am I facing the same way? I look exactly the same, right?
That's
so
adorable.
This is me. I'm about 9-10 here. And this is my first chapter book, and it's called Ralph is Missing. And I would just like to point out, you can, oh, I can't go further because my screen, but those little brown clouds, those are not brown clouds. Those are clues. So this first story was about two detectives that were hired to find a missing dog. And so they stepped in clues. And eventually they discovered that Ralph was a girl having puppies and they rescued her. And so that was, you know, I've always been an artist. I was always drawing. I was the kid with the crayons. I was the autistic kid, the art kid, not the horse kid. I was the art kid. So you could always find me drawing. That was just my deal. And then when I got older, and there's a lot of time between this, I ended up going to art school, and this was how long ago it was. Yeah. So I went to the Rocky Mountain College of Art and Design, and this was from a slideshow that I did for RimCAD. But you know, I started late. I was like 26 when I started college. I didn't have money, so I had to get residency. I had to save up a little money. I had to have a part-time job that could get me through school. And so, you know, there was a few older people there, but I was definitely on the older side of that, starting late into my career. But I knew I needed to go to art school. I wanted to go to art school. And I was a valedictorian graduate. And the reason why I say failure number 2 here is because I think, you know, young people going into an art school really need to consider the debt that's attached to that. And it's tough for us when we're younger to, you know, because we're always told, like, you should go to school. You need to go to art school, or you need to go to whatever your profession is. That's so important. Go get an education, without realizing that that kind of debt can limit your ability to pursue the thing that you really want to do. So I came out of art school, I think it was like $65,000. I saw someone talking about having a $300,000 art education, and I just don't know.
I know some.
You know some, yeah.
I know people like that, yeah.
How? I mean, and what kind of job is going to be even to meet the minimum? I worry about them. I mean, that's part of why I started an online school, and not to, like, you know, shameless plug, but
no, go for it. Yeah.
I think a lot of that's why there's so many, you know, options that are these online schools and things that you can take, you know, little chunks of. We have a school called Cuddlefish Academy. I have it somewhere here in the slides. It's CUDDLEFISH academy.com is where those classes are. But it was really important for me, like you were talking about, disseminating this information, like, you know, making it transparent for people. And maybe you want to try a class, or maybe you want to go to a local community class. Maybe you want to dabble in these things before you make like those big kind of life-changing decisions to make the investment of art school. I would say for me, yes, I use the stuff I learned in art school every day. I had great instructors. I don't regret that. And some of my best friends and some of my best networking contacts are from going to art school, but it took me over 20 years to pay off that debt. And there were times that I wasn't eating. So, you know, you really have to think about those kind of investments and do the compound interest math. Please do that math. That's important math. Because I think I paid my loan several times, maybe even 3 times over the original amount. Like it really, it was a lot. It was trying to get over.
I'm paying mine, you know, and I'm going to be paying mine for a long time. And we've actually talked about that on the podcast several times, because I think what happens, you're right, when you're 19, 17, going to college, you don't imagine yourself being 45 years old and you know, struggling to pay. And the reality is, for most people who go to art school, it doesn't pay off. They end up doing something else, right? And you probably, whether you had gone to college or not, probably would have been still doing what you're doing because that's really what you wanted to do. I mean, I went back to college at 45. I dropped out at 19. And I started teaching, and I didn't go back until I was 45. And so I went back because I was teaching. I went back to finish my degree. But one of the things you said about being 26, when you're 26, you're making an informed decision that you're usually not capable of making when you're 17, 18, 19. You're right. People say, go to college, go to college, go to college, right? And the majority of the people that I went through art school with and through the masters are not working artists. They're working to support the fact that they went to art school. So,
yeah, your frontal lobe isn't fully developed. I mean, I think that happens right at 26. And I was so sure. I was so sure. And I was also a pain in the ass in school. Like,
How
because
so?
I knew exactly how much each class was costing me. I knew on a daily basis, I didn't know what that was going to look like interest wise. So if I got a teacher that wasn't really doing their job, I was a jerk. I mean,
Well,
I was insistent that, and I was also working full-time, half-time, doing my work until 3 a.m, sleeping for a couple hours, driving an hour to the school. Like, don't waste my time.
yep.
You teach me something. That is your job. And I know they're paying you shit, but also I am paying a lot for this. And this is important to me. And I'm not messing around. And I saw so many, sometimes art school ends up being the place that a parent will put a child that isn't really doing well anywhere else because they think it's going to be easy. There's a lot of ways people try and cheat on art, but I don't think you can fake the work. Like, you put up on the board what you put up on the board. And that blew a lot of people out there too. And I know a lot of, as a teacher, a lot of students that really couldn't do it, or it wasn't really a fit for them. And they're carrying debt that they don't even have a degree to take into, like, a job resume or anything like that. They just have debt, So I think, I don't regret being older. And I had life experience, and I knew myself a little better, and I had my feet under me a little better, but I had the work ethic too. So yeah, that's such a good point.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah, go ahead. We don't want to cut you off here.
Oh,
so
no, cut me off.
Yeah.
Because I'll talk really fast and then I'll be done and be like, okay.
Well, this, Kaz, let's turn this off for a second.
Okay, let's do it.
I'll do that.
And the chat is really kind of connecting with just this.
Yeah.
This is a great little pit stop in our conversation. Our good buddy Scott Kurtz says, "I knew dropping out of UNT was the right move. Ka-ching, vindicated." Yes. And
Good
also,
job.
I did a little research when I went to the Pennsylvania Academy of Fine Art, which was America's first fine art school. And I did a lot of research on the school before I went. And then one of the interesting things about doing the research is that your age, when you started, 26, was actually the average age of the student back then when people started. Because in art school, it was basically like being a journeyman, right? Before the art educational complex started, people would go to a place like the Academy, like Thomas Eakins. And then you would go overseas to France, or you would go to another atelier and you would study with a master. And then some people would then go to the big French academy. That's where very famous artists like Leindecker, that was the path that a lot of people did. So actually being an artist was like being a doctor, because you went through these various stages and then you were sort of like referred. Okay, you got your skill level,
Right.
then you go over here and then you go over and you got referred up. So it was a process that took a lot longer and there was more commitment, which we've sort of wiped that whole part
Big
of
time.
art education out,
Big time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was very interesting to find out that the average age of the person starting was actually your age. They were in their mid-20s. They weren't like 17 coming right out of, 12th grade, which, a lot of times people coming out of 12th grade, it's sort of like 10th grade. They're still,
Oh gosh.
they have that high school mentality. And then they find out they're junior year in college, because I used to get a lot of juniors in the classes, that was the oh shit year, right? Because you got 1 year left, and it's almost like looking at the picture of Joe Weider in the mirror, and then you look at yourself and you're like, oh shit, I gotta get there in 1 more year.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Oh no. Well, just kind of going around a bend and looking at the chat. I think that's another really. We could do a whole series just on art school. Right? We could just do an art school pencil to pencil and have a whole year full of that. But 100%. Usually it's like to people in the outside world, that just seems to make a lot of sense in a linear fashion of you go to school and they'll teach you how to do the thing that you want to do.
These are the steps,
right. But art school is such a different animal, right? And if you're hard-headed enough, it won't stop you from doing what you wanted to do. And the chat is kind of everybody's admitting their stories in the chat. So, well, I had a question for you. Because you were at what they call a non-traditional student at that moment when you were in school, you were older in class with a bunch of people who were not your age. How was that? Not necessarily socially, but did you feel like you had to become like the den mother of the kids in your class, or were you just so focused on your own shit? Everybody else was a distraction. How did you get along with the other students?
I remember being made fun of for my mom pants. Like just the way they, the way I was doing the cuffs and the style of the pants, and they were laughing at me. There might have been some acid wash in there. I don't know. I think I just am this way. I think in my critique group, I'm the daddy, which my oldest laughs about, but like I'm protective, and I'm also very communicative. And if something isn't right, I'm going to say it. And I remember, one of the students who ended up becoming very successful and directing, big movies that you've heard about, art directing, and just super talented. His sister just committed suicide, and he was young, coming out of high school, and he was being picked on. And I think he was being picked on because he was so good. Like he was clearly the best artist in that school. And I got in between him and this bully, and I just every day just talked him to filth. Like just, you don't mess with him. And I'm still friends with, the artist that, so there was kind of that, but I think I've always been like that. But I was really so, as they had this program that you're supposed to graduate in 2.8 years, which, to your point, like they had introduced this thing to try and get you graduated faster because it was expensive, and it's appealing to a student to do that. And I just want to mention, at the time, you had to get in with a portfolio. Like you actually had to qualify to get in. And in the time that I've been teaching, it's 100% acceptance rate. Why? Because money. And that makes it very difficult as a teacher to catch someone up. It's really lowering the quality of all the art. And also it's doing a disservice to those students because they really don't belong there. You're just taking their money. They need to go do some other stuff for a while. And maybe they do, get those skills, because, you talk about that tenacity thing when you're coming into an art career. For us to be doing this professionally and to be making a living off of it, and to be paying our health insurance. Are you kidding me? This takes so much hustle. Much hustle. You cannot, phone it in. That's not going to happen. The other thing to get back on the subject of children's books, the recruitment had told me, I said, I really want to do children's books. And they're like, oh, great. We have a great children's book program. So I did all the, the fine art and drawing naked people and all the stuff you got to do, and oil painting and getting high off of turpentine. Then I got into the illustration program, and guess what? They've never had a children's book program. So what did I do? I petitioned. I made a stink. I said, you promised me. And so they hired Paul Yalowitz from, what's the Florida art school?
Ringling?
Yes. So they brought him out, and I learned the ropes from Paul Yalowitz, and just such a sweet, great guy. And I use that stuff all the time. And down the road, he actually hired me to teach at the school. So really, like, you know, I would say in every part of this career, like being a professional, showing up, doing your work, being nice, not being an asshole. It's a very small, we all know each other. We all talk. And even there is those crossover lines. So yeah, but then that's what led me into children's books. So there we go.
You pointed out a very important thing, something that when I taught a high school class was one of my major lessons I would impart to the student who was a teenager, because the recruiter will tell you you want to be an astronaut and a dentist and a bullfighter. Yeah, we got all that. Don't even worry about it. We can do it.
They'll walk through our class while we're doing something completely different and say, yeah, you want to do aeronautics? We got that. They're doing that right here. And we're like, what?
Yeah. And you usually don't know the specifics of your occupation that you want to go in, right? Like when you knew that you wanted to be a children's book author.
I knew.
Right. And because you're a little older, maybe you have some bits of information, right? Mm-hmm. Right. That you wouldn't have had when you were 17, 18. Sure. Right. Yeah. But it's still different than knowing the granular level of what you need to be able to do in order to achieve the dream that you want. And the problem is that most colleges, the person is a salesman. Their job is to recruit you. They don't, the person that you might think actually is a teacher that might teach you may have already left the school 5 years ago, but still on their website, right?
Right.
So the fact that
I think I'm still on their website.
Right. So the fact that you petitioned and were able to get them to hire somebody is actually kind of a miracle, because I know there were things that people wanted to learn.
Right.
And you have to be able to find a teacher that's willing to go to that school, has the time to go to that school, and they're willing to pay them.
Yeah.
What it's worth. And if you're a working professional, hey, maybe it's not worth your income to do all that, right?
Yeah.
Your time. So
I mean, we always talk about this in, art and publishing. Like, there is that luck. And I am a spiritual person. I'm starting to believe that maybe we are in a simulation. Sorry, that's getting pretty out there. But if we talk about luck or kismet or things that are supposed to happen, like, I really think Paul Yalowitz was supposed to come to Colorado. And, I've apologized to him several times for ruining his life. But, it was time, and there was a connection with our chair, Larry Kresick, who had taught with Paul. And he's like, I know somebody. And just that tenacity, I would not shut up about it. So that worked out. And those were, there was just like 2 children's book classes. They ended up starting a whole children's book program. Like, it led to a lot. And I ended up teaching those classes and writing curriculum for their online courses and all that kind of stuff. So, it's interesting how those paths kind of align. But I do think there's something a little more, something a little more magical or something, or kismet that happens along those paths. And I welcome that. Thanks, universe. Yeah.
Well, one thing about that, and, I applaud you for that, is that I love people who are like stick to their gunsers or go-getters or whatever, or, they won't let go.
Yeah.
And I think about the kids that weren't you that went, okay. And they just went home. You know what I mean? Or they just wound up doing something else. It didn't stick to guns.
Yeah. If we want to pull up a slide real quick.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks, Steve.
So, tenacity, my first book officially, there was some other stuff before this, but like my official book that I wrote and illustrated It was rejected 72 times. Everybody rejected it.
Oh.
Everybody said no to this thing. And I just was like, you know, every no is one step closer to a yes. I just know this is supposed to be in the world. And we just keep on going until we get a yes. 72 times, well, 70, you know, 73, then that's the breakthrough. And, you know, in the meantime, I was just doing sample artwork for myself. Like it was just a project where I was making creepy versions of nursery rhymes, because I do have a creepy side to me, and I was doing them one-offs. So I think for people that are starting into this and they're like, oh, I got to illustrate a whole graphic novel, or I so much in writing, I'm like, I meet these young writers and they're like, oh, I'm on chapter 3 of a 6-book series. And I'm like, you're never even going to finish the first one. I just know that. So I just think, like, break it down into smaller chunks. Like even, doing these one-off poems, and that's that. And all of a sudden you have, I don't remember the page count, but it was over 64. It might've been in the 80 range. I don't remember, but there was enough of them that it ended up creating a whole collection of things that could be sold. So, maybe it's short stories, or maybe it's, you do one comic every day, or whatever it is you do. Maybe that's aggressive, but just break it down into doable chunks. And it's pretty amazing how those kind of things add up. And then I'm just learning that it's a lot about, what is it when you learn to be able to do things for a long time? There's a word for that. It's not tenacity. It's like,
mastery.
You just build up the ability to work and get a lot done in a short period of time. Those skills, like those, that you're not really thinking so much about tangents anymore. You're just kind of doing stuff without tangents, or you're thinking about composition in a way that, like, that's kind of becoming second nature. So you're not running so much of that software. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But that takes a lot of time to get up to the point that it's some of that second nature, so you can work at a really professional level. And that's everything to do with doing it, which comes around to how AI is so freaking destructive, because you have to do the crappy work before you can do the good work. We all pay those dues.
Yeah. Now, when you were sending out your book, you would get a rejection. Were you making improvements before you would send out the next round? Were you making notes? Yeah. Like developing your, I would say it's sort of like being a detective, right? You send out something, somebody gives you feedback, you take it and go, well, I know Hufflin Mifflin is not looking for blah, 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 but you have a contact.
Frontal nudity, they didn't want it.
Right.
Okay, got it.
And one of the things I would recommend to young people, what you were saying, the students, was to do the short thing, because everybody wants to start with like Lord of the Rings. Everybody wants this like giant universe with a million things. And if it takes you 10 years to write it, right? And then people go, no. Yeah. Right? It's like, I think people think like, well, if I start small, well, that's not much, So how long? Because that before your first sale, right? That's a real choppy part of your career, right? You got to still steel yourself. Well, maybe they're right. I'll change this little thing or whatever. What was that period like before you had your first sale? And then what was it like by the time you had your third sale?
Yeah. I was always working. So even while that was going on, like I was doing pet portraits, but I was also working on other projects. And I think that's so important. And in the beginning of, me really pursuing this, I had started off in school with a project called Rotten Tooth Fairies that had started off as a picture book. And then I got some feedback that people thought it was too dark and it should go older. So I wrote it older, and then end up as a middle grade. And then it ended up back in a picture book. And finally it was getting feedback. And I think that's the important thing. I was going to conferences, I was getting reviews, and, the editor came back to me, because they'll ask you, what are you working on? And that is your opening. You tell them what you're working on. And she came back to me at lunch later on. She's like, I figured out what's wrong with your book. And I'm like, please tell me. She said, it's an abduction story. we can't publish an abduction story because, you know, scary monsters come into the room and take the girl and turn her into the tooth fairy. Like, oh, so I think that feedback is important. So I would get professional reviews. I would get reviews from a critique group. My critique group is everything to me. Like, it's so helpful to get those, you know, eyeballs on it. And then in terms of submissions, I always tell my coaching clients with CUDDLEFISHACADEMY.com, I always tell them, like, maybe don't start with your dream agents. Like, maybe start submitting, and you can use querytracker.net. That's a good, there's like a free version and then there's a paid version. So you can submit your projects and maybe go with not your, you know, your top agents first. And I would do it in chunks of 10 because it's probably going to take, you know, I was like at 70, 80 sort of rejections before my agent found me. But I would say go 10 at a time and then have that go out for a couple of weeks. You can track on querytracker.net, you know, how long their turnaround is, and then look for common feedback. Because the thing about getting 72 or whatever rejections on Mother Goth Rhymes was, it was interesting for me to read that somebody loved my art, hated my writing, or vice versa. And it was enough for me to say, oh, this is just opinions. I just need to find that one person that likes both of them. And, you know, slight caveat. A lot of people say, oh, agents are only hired, oh, they're only taking on author illustrators now. That's not true. They're just looking for unicorns. It just means they have a lot of great artists. They have a lot of great writers. It is actually harder to break in some ways to be an author illustrator because you do have to find somebody that likes both of those things. Right. But I would say that it's worth it because, you know, me starting off with 72 rejections and then 64 rejections on Swim Gym. I am coming to that. Okay, comics. If you're Stabby, you had a Stabby comic? Like a Stabby, you were saying?
Stabba-cadabra.
You know, I'm going to love it.
Isn't it? That's great. Right.
Yeah, this is the bloodiest page in the book, but like if you look at all these cereal boxes, this is maybe my favorite comic here. Is where like there's a giraffe corn, a penguin corn, and then you get down and he's on the Maury show and it's like, you are the father and banned from the zoo. Don't ask too many questions about that ice cream cone. Anyway, that's not for children. That's for teen and adults. So just say that, you know, like read your books before you hand them to your kids. But so my big breakthrough was Swim Gym that I was working on while I was, you know, having other things out and then getting the Mother Goth Rhymes. And if you're Stabby and working through those, I had this other idea about a little crocodile that was afraid of the water. So I was writing that. I was putting together a dummy book to submit it. And that was going out as well. And I'd kind of given up on it, but my agent had not given up on it. And it landed with Catherine Ledon at Simon & Schuster. And it also ended up with interest at another house that I won't say who they are, but we had what's called an auction, which is a beautiful, very stressful, awesome word that just means you have competing publishing companies that are interested in the same project, which means they're going to come back and sweeten the deal. Hey, we can give you more money. We can do this for you. So it ended up in auction and sold over Christmas, which also never happens over the winter holidays. Wow. And that really launched my career in amazing ways. This also won the Colorado Book Award, which was really cool. It also was in the Society of Illustration in New York, their original art show, which was such an honor. Just very cool to go to that and also be, you know, in the Mecca for illustrators, right? So super cool. And then this book I had pitched as a picture book, Worm and Caterpillar are Friends. And that editor, Catherine Ledon, said, I don't think this is a picture book. I think this is an early reader. And when I sent it, when she sent it, she referred me over to another imprint in Simon & Schuster. They received it and said, it's not just an early reader. It is a graphic novel. And we would like you to double the page count. So 32, we would like it to be a 64-page graphic novel. Are you up for that? And I was not up for that, but I did not tell them. I just said, sure, not a problem. And they had some suggestions like places like this where I could do a double page spread instead of like a panel sort of situation. But I was able to do it and actually wasn't, in some ways, it was like easier than the picture book. Just because I think using that holding line, and I was just really cognizant of using like those gesturally backgrounds like watercolor. And I'm working digitally. I'm still working in Photoshop. I've been working in Photoshop for 30 years, you know, like I can't quit you. I wish I knew how to quit you. Anyway, so like turning things into panels, that translate, it's just storytelling. It's just a different format of storytelling. And I really like that the speech bubbles gave this sort of immediacy, like you're right in their heads, you're right communicating with them. And yeah, so this actually, I was able to do the final art in 1 month. I just challenged myself. I'm like, how fast can I do 64 pages? And it was all I was doing. Like sometimes I was forgetting to eat and all that kind of stuff. But it ended up winning a bunch of awards. It ended up being on pretty much every best book of the year list. It won my first ALA at the Geisel Award. And that bump, the Geisel Award, that's recognized. ALA, that's a sticker on the cover. That's something people recognize. And then this all happened so fast. I mean, Swim Gym published in 2022, the summer of 2022. It's that fast. So all the like 15 years to get an agent, and then, you know, all those years to actually get a breakthrough with picture books or whatever, you know, and now it's paying off. Like I think I counted 15 books out and approximately 12 coming now.
Wow.
And I just have a couple or the graphic novels that I'm working on that are 112 pages that I've just started on. Wish me luck. They're due very soon. I just tell them, yeah, I'm up for it. Sure, let's go. So there's a second book to this, and of course there's Bitsy Bat, which was a big breakthrough picture book, talking about being neurodiverse, being autistic in the classroom. She's the only bat in a classroom full of nocturnal animals. This got starred reviews and, you know, sold out very quickly. Quick domestic reprint, which is very special. So like these things, you know, yeah, 12. I'm excited and terrified simultaneously. I got a 5-book deal, and then something's in the works that is more than that, probably.
I love it.
So how do you, with all this, you have to be really,
on drugs? Yes.
Right. Well, yeah, right. And you know, you also have to really be able to marshal your horses. You know, you got to have, you know, yourself, you know what you're capable of, and what maybe you have to be capable of. That's also part of something that I think that a lot of people don't think about. They think about the rah-rah success part, but they don't think about like the rowing the boat part, right? They think about winning the award part. How do you structure your life, your day? How do you know, it's funny, everybody talks about neurodivergent now.
There's a lot of us in the art writing community, and we're a lot of us staying up late. Yeah.
Just about every creative person has to be some percentage of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Our brains work differently, for sure.
Yeah. Everybody's like Ralph Phillips looking out the window, right? And then your imagination takes off, right?
Yes.
Because I was told, you know, when I was in my 40s that I was diagnosed as being, what was it? I was on Ritalin as a kid for a little while.
Oh, ADHD. Yeah. ADHD.
Yeah. And, you know, I never heard about that or knew about that, you know. But now it's like so common. But people also can use that as an excuse for not achieving things too, right? Now, so in your thing, I mean, you're like an athlete in your prime now, right? So what do you do to keep yourself in shape, to know when you need to back off? How do you structure your day?
We should have like mathletes or arthletes. Can we be
arthletes? Arthritis.
Yeah. Yes, I'm an arthlete. Well, and to your point, like I have a kid who's you know, ADHD and autistic, and we do have these conversations. Like they do have a pronounced disability, but it also isn't an excuse to try, because you can overcome stuff. And we do have tools, and we do have, the great thing about me being out with this autism ADHD thing is I find people that are like me, and I've also discovered tools for that. Is it okay if I share screen? Because there was one book in particular that basically saved my life, and it's the first one right here, this Refuse to Choose. So I've always struggled with organization, having too many ideas and not being able to finish the ideas. And if you do that for over 10 years, you start to identify as a failure. And everything kind of feels like something that you're going to give up on, and it's not going to go anywhere. And you're never going to, none of this is ever going to see the light of day, and what's wrong with me and all that. So, as we do, I went to the bookstore to find something to help me get my shit together. And I swear to you, here's that Kismet thing. I swear to you, this Refuse to Choose book fell off the shelf at my feet. So I picked it up, started flipping through it, and it says, like how to do the thing you want, but also to do everything else you like too. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's me. So I took this book home, and she called that creative type that likes to do a lot of things and maybe moves through things very quickly. She called it a scanner. I've since come to understand it. Some people call it a multi-potentialite. I've come to understand that as ADHD, and there's different, categories she would put us in. And she gives tools. Like if you're the kind of person that, does this and then, bombs out of it, or you're someone that likes like that hyper focus thing. And she teaches you like how, with case studies, how to set up your workspace, or how to have, how to know which things you really should finish on, right? So that book was really helpful to me. And then, when it was earlier in my career, it was really, and it still is, I just use Google Sheets and I break it down. I have friends that break it down into spreads. I like the little dopamine kick of that checkbox, and I also turn it green. So I just have, like, if it's a 64-page project, I have every single step of it. Like, how many pages of the manuscript, I did 1, 2, 3, or whatever it is. But, really breaking it down into rough sketches and then tight sketches. It's the same thing as comics in a lot of ways, I really think. And then, getting those approval and going into your final, doing the revisions and doing the final paintings. And I just love watching that whole screen start to fill up with green. So that really helped. And just doing the math of, okay, I know this, and it's nice to be under official deadline. I think you should give yourself deadlines. And that book really teaches you that. And if it's okay for me to plug one thing, we have a class. So Cuddlefish Academy is 5 different, very successful, awesome people that publish in children's book, a couple great graphic novelists. This book is coming out in September. This is Stan Yen's The Many Misfortunes of Eugenia Wang. It is brilliant. It's a JLG Gold selection. It's getting a lot of buzz already, but he's one of our professors. And we also have Lily Williams, who you might recognize from this graphic novel series. And this is Go with the Flow. So she's also a professor with Cuddlefish Academy. But the thing that I want to promote is we have a class on July 26th. I'm looking at the calendar. Yep. July 26th from 10 to 11 o'clock Mountain Time. So that would be 12 to, I do math, 2 your time.
Yeah,
So, and we're giving tools, we're giving downloadables, and also advice. It's called Mastering Your Busy Schedule, I believe. And that's talking about balancing like family or disability, or, sometimes you have to work a full-time job or a half-time job in order to be able to afford to be able to do this career. So we're going to talk about all those things and also give those 5 different perspectives on things that have worked for us. So for me recently, with the kind of deadlines that have hit and how fast they are and how they're layered on top of each other, I have recently hired a project manager just because I have dyscalculia. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but that means that I don't process numbers very well. So, kind of the trouble I get myself into is I got no's for so long that now that I'm getting offered these things, I just automatically say yes, and I'll figure it out. And I assume that the dates that they're going to give me can work for me, right. But that's not always the case. So having someone that can really read the numbers and also not show me everything, just say, like right now, I'm supposed to be writing a a graphic novel manuscript. And that's my only goal right now. And I need to have it done before August 1st. And I need to write 7 pages a day at least. So I know that. And she just keeps me on task like that, because otherwise I bonk out. Like I get so overwhelmed that I'm going to scrape crevices and scrape the carpet and get all the dog hair out of it, and probably eat a lot of food and spin out and cry and have some meltdowns. So she really helps me to not to have that. So that's been really helpful and really recent. And the other thing that's happening is I've realized that I can't do this alone. So I've hired an inker and a colorist for the first time.
Wow.
His name's David Dean. He's a gorgeous, daviddeanart.com, I think. He's a gorgeous human being. He's ready for a breakthrough, and he's also going to save my butt on these deadlines. So, I'm like getting my big girl pants on and leveling up in a way, and also working in community. And I think that's so important for us, that collaborative space of, we can't do this alone. I think also just in the world, capitalism wants to keep us isolated and separate. So we all go buy a lawnmower and we all go buy, you know what I mean? So I think learning to accept that I can't do this by myself and I really need help. Like I had a professional organizer come to my office just on Monday and like changed my life with things that I could never even comprehend to start to figure out. And just those kind of things like, hey, I have a community and I have resources and it's okay to ask.
Yeah. Well,
I want to ask about those early rejections.
Yeah.
Where did you find the courage to keep going? I think 50 rejections might stop a ton of people, like 50, it's almost like
even 10
two can stop people forever.
Yeah.
I was talking with the Cuddlefish professors today about that because someone's in the trenches, and I think we all understand what it's like to be in the query trenches. And she was, she's very established and she was like, what do you do? Because she was like on rejection 30. She's like, how do you handle that? And, we all kind of have this idea of like one step closer to the yes, we're not giving up. And also like if it's a particularly bad rejection, like something I really had my heart set on, I will swear a lot and my critique group will also swear with me. And then we'll probably get a glass of wine and some tacos and just say, talk whoever rejected us to filth. Not that we really mean it, but like you have to get it out somewhere. And I think that's something you should never do publicly. Don't take that online. Don't whine about that online. That is not the place for it. You got to have your community. Selena Yoon, who's very well published too, and I love her to death. She saw where I was at. She saw that I was like, I had the talent in order to make a breakthrough, but I hadn't made the breakthrough yet. And she took me by the hand and she said, I'm not letting you go until you have your breakthrough. So she taught me how to write, how to pitch something, like how to package and how to pitch and how to do a sales sheet. And that was huge for me. But also like I had a Scholastic thing that almost happened, but I waited 6 months. And that was before the 76 rejection thing. I waited 6 months to hear back on this chapter book series. And it was wild because I was at a yoga class the morning and I had no idea when they were going to respond to me. And I was at a yoga class and it hit me. It just like a ton of bricks. I'm like, you got an answer and it's a no. And I just had this calm. Like, okay, well, now I know, instead of like every day thinking about it and checking my inbox, you know what I mean? And I went to my car and turned on my phone and Selena Yoon had messaged me and says, I'm so sorry. We just found out it's a no. And so she let me drink some wine and she says, you can cry for 10 minutes and then we're getting back on this.
Right, then it's over, right.
Yeah.
I love it.
But I just knew. I knew. And also, like I couldn't quit it. I tell young people getting into this, now that I can say young people, they say, when do you know that you should quit? And I'm like, if you can't quit, you probably ought to. But if you can't quit, and maybe even take some time off and try something else and see how you feel. Because sometimes people do quit and they're like, oh, I'm so much happier now that I'm not chasing this.
Wow.
But if you can't quit, keep going. And, that tenacity, like they say, there's that luck principle. But if you are at it for as long as I was at it, eventually you're going to hit pay dirt. And like, you know, just look what happened just in that. Here, I'm trying to find the cover sheet with some of the projects that, I mean, this all just happened since 2022. What if I'd given up?
Right.
And look how, I mean, every day I have someone messaging me or, you know, sending me an email and saying like, oh my gosh, Bitsy Bat healed my inner child, or like my child is going to kindergarten and this was so impactful for them, or, you know, just the message of acceptance and worm and caterpillar friends, people that identify differently, you know, all of that. I know that's making that ripple effect, that stuff that packs down in the bottom, and that, you know, that very important thing. Like if I had given up, then someone wouldn't be holding the book that they've told me is their favorite book that they've ever read, you know, and that's the why. And that's the why. And I just know it's my purpose, you know, so I just kept on going, even though it sucked. So as far as like, you know, at my agent he has his spreadsheet. I try not to look at it and, you know, try to just get really busy working on something else that can go out. And I would always say that, like Rotten Tooth Fairies, I shouldn't have spent all those years trying to make that one idea go. I thought you're not supposed to give up on it. Sometimes you got to give up on it. And I would say it's compost. Like you have all these ideas, all these, you know, things. And it's so interesting to me now that I'm working at such fast speeds. Like anytime they reach out to me and say, hey, we're starting this, do you have any ideas? And I'm like, are you kidding me? I have ideas, and I can also, you know, shift it and change it. Maybe it's a secondary character, or maybe part of the storyline transfers over to something. Like none of that is lost. None of that was actually a failure at all. That was the rich, stinky, delicious, fertile soil that has produced all these things. And I have so many more ideas. Like I'm never going to run. I'm staring at a wheelbarrow full of ideas, a physical wheelbarrow in my office. Like that is not my problem. And, you know, it's paying off. So I'm glad I didn't.
Is it the same one you would take to the library as a kid?
No, no, I don't know where that wagon was many moons ago. I should take it to the library just because, you know. But
no,
it's
I like that idea of the kid being abducted and being turned into the tooth fairy. That sounds like something they could put on Netflix or something, you know.
So I do have the creepy side, and I don't know why I'm whispering. It's like
I don't know why you're whispering.
It sounds better.
Come closer. Okay, so I'm working on these very creepy stories that are for middle grade. And that's the thing. Like I get up in the morning, I get some coffee on board, right? And then I'm creative. And if I do something creative that's just for me, that doesn't belong to anybody else, it's not sold, and it's small enough that I can, you know, do it. Like I can have that sense of, oh, look, I'm someone that completes things. You know, I've wrote 4 of those stories so far, and I think it's going to be a 5-book series and, you know, somewhat illustrated. But oh my gosh, they're dark, and I'm just loving writing in that format.
Kids love dark. Kids
I think
are
we need
attracted to that creepy.
Yes.
It's a normal thing. And I think I became really aware of it because when I was working for DC Comics, they would send me comps of all the comics that they published. And I would give them out for Halloween. And there's stuff in there like, you know, Sandman and, you know, stuff for older. But the kids always wanted the stuff that was not age appropriate.
Right.
Right? They always wanted the stuff that was like a little bit, if you're 10, you want something that a 15-year-old's supposed to have.
Oh, I have some major If You're Stabby fans that I'm like, are you really okay with that? Sometimes I'll meet them at signings or something, and they're like, this is me. I love it so much. And their parents are cool with it. Like, my kids were creepy kids too. Like I remember my youngest taking a baby doll and just like pretending like the trash can was a guillotine. And I didn't. I swear. I did. I mean, I'm creepy too, but they just came into the world like that. So yeah, and that's creepiness has to go somewhere, and we live in a scary world, and I think, you know, having a contained place for us to experience those difficult, scary feelings is so important, and such an important part of literature. Like when they do research on what the brain is doing when you are reading. So if you're reading about running, it doesn't really work to, get your cardio up or anything. But when you're reading about running, your brain is processing it as if you are running. It is in the same part of your brain that you are running. So when you're reading about something scary, or like you're able to process that in a safe way in your brain where it's contained and it's not really happening. In some ways, that's prep for, you're going to run into scary stuff. You're going to run into difficult stuff. I've certainly had, I was thinking about this today. We living in the creative community and the neurodivergent community, we've lost people by their own hands. We all have. I know you have. And that sticks with you forever. And so how do you process that? Not to go that dark, but you're going to face scary stuff. And so let's give you a safe space to process what that is. And to also know that you're not the only one that thinks about these things or processes things. You're not that weird. You're weird, but I'm also weird. And that makes it okay. I'm a mirror, right? The mirror, windows, doors, all that. So
Kaz, we have chewed up a lot of information in a little bit of time. Take a breath, babe. All right, now it's time for my favorite part of the show. It's the lightning round.
Oh my goodness.
Question Palooza time. So our good buddy Stone Cold Steve Conley is going to read you a barrage of questions. And try to be brief, but you don't have to be super.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Go ahead, Steve.
First answer is yes.
We'll dive right. Oh gosh, I should pick a question appropriate for that.
Oh,
no. Sean Shai Dorsha on YouTube asks, doing children's books is only easy if you have no respect for children. That was a feedback to our conversation.
True. Well, and I think people, because they, you're in the adult world and you're thinking about adult things. And I also think, like, talking down to your own child, like there's kind of this embarrassment or shame or something about being a child and also forgetting who you were. I've never grown up. So for me, I very much remember what it's like to be a child. And I have a lot of respect for children. And I believe they deserve the best possible literature, even on my early readers, and it's great that some of them are very simple and kids really need to read books in a different way. But for me, like, I'm going just as lush, just as much passion with those early readers as I am with the lush picture book. Like I'm going because I'm going to give it to them because they deserve it. Yes. Great point.
That's beautiful. Art by Anna on YouTube asks, what was the shortest amount of time it has taken you to write and illustrate a book?
The fastest I've written a book has been probably even recently. I pitched an idea and they really liked the idea, but they didn't like the manuscript that I had submitted. So they asked me, because there was interest in the sales, they said, can you produce a picture book that's an origin story? And I wrote that in 2 days. Illustration, like, I've gotten a lot faster. I usually 3 months, but when I started out, it was 2 years. And, you just kind of get your flow and you figure out how to, do things quickly. But I would say, doing finished art on a 64 pager in 1 month is something.
Whoa.
It's something. The one that won all the awards, I would take that. But I would say, it takes what it takes, and medium matters. And I work digitally and I have tricks and I know how to go fast. And that's what I want. I want a lot of books, but I don't think that's for everybody. I certainly know people that do analog, gorgeous watercolor paintings that take them years to do, and do that. If that's your thing, it's totally okay. But that daddy's got to make some money, so I work fast. I want to get to that next end of that royalty also, and produce a beautiful book for children.
Thank you for that question, Art by Anna. We've got following up on that, talking about the medium, Randy Coote on the YouTube. I'm curious if you predict a greater emphasis on traditional mediums as a response to the rise of AI.
I think that's already happening, and I think the weirder you can be, the better. Really lean into your strangeness, like, because you kind of see with the AI, there's kind of a style with it, and it's this really slick, like, I know what it's stealing from, but it has a look. So the weirder you can be, and if you want to do crayons with your whatever your I know there's a lot of lefties here, your non-dominant hand, and get weird with it. I think that's great, and that's also really what traditional publishing is looking for, is very specific to you. It's not generic. It's not something anybody else can do. Even Dan Santat, I hear him say he's not worried about AI. Also, he is at a level I don't think he has to worry. But he's like, nobody's gonna like type in, do it in the style of Dan Santat. That's my Dan Santat voice. Nobody.
That's a good Dan Santat. Yeah.
I love him. He is the best.
We had him on the show. He's fantastic.
Oh my gosh, I love him. I love you, Dan Santat. But he's not worried about it because nobody's going to copy him, and I'm worried about it because I'm worried about younger artists coming up. But be weird and experimental stuff. Like the sketchbook is. I get super weird in a sketchbook. Like that's so fun for me. And so many of my ideas come from just, drawing, and this will really show you what your handwriting is, the weird stuff you draw at the airport. You know what I mean? So and it's a safe place to be weird. Like I do this thing where I take, the piano picture on your phone. So I do that. And if people move, like they just move a little bit, then you get like these references that are totally caricatures. So fun to draw. And it also just loosens you up, and so many ideas come to me just by, hopefully there's nothing too obnoxious on this page. Oh yeah. And I would say children's book people, they're not nuns. We're real people. We swear. Most of us are disgusting, but we can't take that publicly because there is an expectation that, hey, you do this for kids, so you got to be, but angelic. Yeah. And I am pretty angelic, but
So how is that a daily process that how often do you work in your sketchbook and just sort of let your brain run across the pages?
You might see this character at some point.
Wonderful.
My brain works differently on screen on a digital format than it does on a book. There's something magical about taking a pencil. This is my first Ticonderoga. Taking a pencil, and it just activates your brain in a certain way when it's on paper. So, I do almost all my sketching in a sketchbook, or even just I don't have an example here, but I'll print off the manuscript if it's not too long. And I'm just going through the manuscript and drawing in the margins. And you would be so surprised, maybe you wouldn't be surprised, I don't know, how many times like the good ideas are right there in the margins of that manuscript, but it's on paper, thinking it through and not making it so precious. And also just like, I definitely want to use digital to clean up the drawings and, like move things around. It's so much easier to edit. And, I have really great brushes to paint with, but I'm almost always in my book. And I have teenagers and I have doctor's appointments, and we're at the dentist. I was at the dentist yesterday. We're at there constantly because I got braces and the whole deal. So I'm just drawing people. Like I'm not on my phone. I am drawing. That's much more interesting. And nobody notices me because they're on their phone. As obnoxious as possible, like, going full caricature. I don't like drawing humans in my books, really. I don't like that, but I sure love drawing a real person in a waiting room. Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I would do daily, and I always have a sketch. I mean, I burn through sketchbooks. So
that's my favorite. I love it. That's the front of your sketchbook. I'm honored.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I got that at the Modern Art Museum in Chicago, and we spilled something on it, and I had this sticker in my bag, so I'm just like, fixed. Everything's fixed. Look at it.
That's my superpower, Kaz.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
right. JAMAR Nicholas covers the mightiest stains.
Self-portrait from a pano my youngest took of me,
Oh, that's fantastic.
Look how awesome my legs are. That's actually accurate.
Nice. The Pilates is paying
off.
off.
But that's me with a sketchbook everywhere.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and I'm not someone that says you have to, you must do, because I used to not be like that, but like things really opened up for me when I started just carrying a little sketchbook in my purse and actually drawing in it. And it's so soothing too. It's so nice to.
A lot of people are also scared of sketchbooks.
Yeah.
I found that out by accident. actually, because we got a bunch of donations of sketchbooks to the class.
Mhm.
So I would give the kids, like the more serious kids, you know,
Yeah.
I'd give them a sketchbook, and they were like, yeah, you know, like, whoa, with their hair standing up, because like, well, now I really have to. There you go.
This is such a small portion, because I had the organizer come. I threw away a whole garbage bag full of sketchbooks because I just went in and I tore out like the interesting pages or the good art pages. Like I needed to clear out room. I am just swamped in books, really. But yeah, I was able to look back on, you know, a couple decades of drawing and just see my own progression. And also the majority of those sketchbooks had like, you know, maybe a third of them finished. And I have a very specific kind of sketchbook. I recommend having, I really like one these are some of my favorites that you can, I mean, Amazon's evil, but these are really cheap. And I like the texture of the paper. It doesn't piss me off. And they're not precious. They're not, I mean, they're a stupid thing. And I just draw, and if I don't finish them, oh, well. But yeah, I mean, you can even see progression from, this wasn't that long ago, but yeah, I threw away most of them, but yeah, I just think the less precious you can be about it, and the more okay you are with being imperfect.
Yeah.
Because I think that paralysis of perfection is really a problem with all of us creative types. And if you can just get over it, I publish books, every single published book has a mistake in it. I can tell you where it's at. And everybody went over with a fine-tooth comb on it. Some of them were kind of severe. You know, and sometimes you get the book and it's printed upside down. It's so weird. Anyway, there's imperfections in everything, and you just kind of have to release it and keep on going.
Let's get back to these questions.
All right. Yeah,
Sorry.
we're under the lightning round already in progress. That was a great question, Randy. Thank you for that. That touch on that sketch we saw. Art by Anna asks, do you ever base characters off of yourself?
They're all me.
Great.
Yeah.
Nice and easy.
WS Wist on YouTube, Bill asks, how many projects do you work on at once, and how do you juggle the workload?
I think the ADHD superpower piece of that, like I get really bored really fast. But I always have multiple projects going on at the same time, and also something that isn't sold, which is probably what's gotten me into this space that I'm in with having a lot of stuff in the pipeline. But I'm usually working on so I just finished Bitsy Bat Snowstar, which is the third book in the Bitsy series. And I do work better if I'm just focusing on one thing, and the project manager is helping me. And I was like, if I can get that done a month early, then I can pretty much focus on the graphic novel right now and get that chunk done. The thing is, it takes so long to get notes back. It's really nice to have multiple things in the shoot because you can't really control where the notes come. So I would just say, if you can break it down into those doable chunks and get those chunks done. So if you have to do a dummy book, rough dummy book, do those sketches and break it into a chunk and just get that done instead of stopping. And if you can get that hyper focus, then that's really, really helpful. And if you can, I had to leave teaching and just really build some space in, and my husband stepped up and doing the shopping and the cooking, and he took the kids out tonight. If you have people in your life that can help you to have that focus, that's so nice too. But yeah, there's always multiple things going on, and I wouldn't want it a different way. And it does get overwhelming sometimes, but then it all works out. Somehow it all works out.
That's great. Thank you for the question, Bill. Randy has a follow-up question here. On dealing with rejection, how was it when you were finally in print? Was it overwhelming, underwhelming? How did it affect future projects and your mindset? And this addendum, meaning to go from so many rejections to finally having something in print.
I will never get tired of holding a physical book in my hand. That's alchemy. That's magic. That's always so freaking special. But I would say that the whole thing about promoting your book, nobody really teaches you that. It's kind of clandestine. What's the hidden knowledge?
Yeah.
It's an occult or it's something. It's some hidden knowledge that the publisher only tells you a little bit. And sometimes you won't even see, really, you don't know if you're getting marketing at all. That's a whole different skill set. And I'm happy to do coaching with people that are on that breakthrough thing, because that's different. And I did a lot of stuff that were time wasting that didn't really, ROI? It wasn't a really return on investment kind of thing. I should have the work is the most important thing. So I had an opportunity to talk to the salesperson that sells my book from Simon and Schuster. I'm like, I am picking your brain. What can I do to help you? What do I need to be doing on my side to make sure my books are selling? This is so important to me, and I have no idea what's going on. And she was like, you can chill your tits. She didn't say that. She said, calm your tits. Is that it?
Yeah.
And she said, it's okay because you are doing the thing that is most helpful for us. You are producing books. And she says, we have these people that will take, and it's fine. They produce beautiful books, but every 5 years. And then we try and go back to, what is it, Baker and Taylor, or whoever the distributors are. And they're like, hey, remember that book that is now 6 years old that you really liked? And they're talking to a different contact and things have moved around. They have a new book out. For me, I have 3 books out a year. You really like Cat versus Vac. Cat versus Vac is selling really great. You're probably going to like Go Go Dino. You're probably going to like Squid and Pants. And my name is front of mind when they're bringing it. And so she said, you're already doing the thing that helps us most, and that's to make more books. So when it comes down to it, and you have to prioritize something, I would say prioritize the work. But also, you have to remember the why. So for me, doing the occasional school visit or doing, going to a signing or something, helps me to remember why I'm doing this, because it does get hard. And having that connection with a child and seeing how they light up with something and remembering who I'm doing this for is so important. So if you can mix it in with a little bit of that and giving back to your community, you'll never be in balance, but that does keep things a little more balanced. But yeah, prioritizing.
That's great. And I think that was it. That was awesome. Yeah, you did great. Thank you, Randy, for the question.
Oh wait, I'm sorry, Steve. I didn't want to bang you out here, but there was like one more in there.
Oh, was that the about cleanup? Oh,
yeah.
Everybody clean up, clean up.
On Facebook asked, what software do you use for cleanup?
Yeah.
I Photoshop. I do everything in Photoshop. I mean, I hate them, but I'm married to them, so that's what I'm doing. And I think Artstation's fine, Procreate's fine. Well, they did this the cloud and the scraping and the lying and the
yeah.
So, but I tried to quit them, and it's such a fundamental part of my workflow. I can't quit them, and that's what I do. I just like bring in a very rough, ugly, you can't even tell what's going on sketch. And I have brushes I like, and I draw. Usually I'm drawing on this screen. I do have a Cintiq now. Please don't dox me and rob me. But just draw on screen. Yep, and clean it up in Photoshop.
I love it.
Have you tried Procreate or any of the other?
I have an iPad. I have tried it. I just think this all kind of came down, and my career ramped up so fast that I can't afford the learning curve. And that's something I would encourage you to do if you're not busy, and if you're not super busy, is to spend the time getting familiar with some other tools, because, now I'm kind of stuck with it. And I would love to use other tools. So spend the time to learn those things and take the little classes and learn how to do that, because that will serve you. So that is one deficit, but I just can't. I don't have time to take on another thing. Yeah, follow me everywhere. Follow me. And if you're on TikTok, I'm at CUDDLEKAZ, CUDDLEKAZ. But I'm here on Instagram and all the places. So Blue Sky is great. I prefer Blue Sky, but my primary audience is on Instagram for all the same reasons, right? We live in a weird time.
Did you read? We didn't even talk about because you're doing graphic novels. Did you read comics and graphic novels as a kid?
Oh gosh. So I did I'm glad you asked, because I was going through what my history was, and I know we don't have much time. I have a tip-in that's signed.
Oh,
wow.
That's old Garfield too.
Old Garfield. So I was thinking, my style is so influenced, and then I was trying to find the things it was influenced by, and it turns out being 13 and being exposed to the 1989. Now you're going to have my date. You're going to be able to break into my bank account. Would you like my mother's maiden name? So this calendar is realistic versions of Garfield. And this hit me in some profound way. Like,
Wow.
I'm trying to achieve this with my work. And I think you'll see it if you look at like Bitsy Bat, you'll see that's like, okay, it's cartoonish, but it's also like fuzzy and refined and painterly. It's got all these things. It's the 1989 Garfield calendar. It just is.
That's a nice car.
So I got this off of eBay.
That's beautiful.
Yeah. So, all the things that probably people talk about, the Calvin and Hobbes, all the Calvin and Hobbes, well into my adulthood, and still, like, he's a master. If you ever get stuck on a composition, you just flip open to a page and you're going to have a brilliant solution. You can borrow compositions, don't steal or trace, but like, oh, that composition, yes, please. And then just, other graphic novels like the ones I mentioned before, but Vera Brosgol, oh gosh, just so I'm reading this stuff, like I'm consuming. Oh, and also I would argue that Shel Silverstein really has kind of a like the cartoonish, and it's kind of these one-offs with these poems, and it's so quirky and weird and also irreverent. And this was me being a third grader and being exposed to this by a great teacher, Mr. Jepson. Like this hit me so deeply. But yeah, I mean, I'm influenced by the things. So yeah, all the things.
I love it. Wow. Kaz, we did it.
We did it.
Oh, wow. There's Raina and Scott's book. That's fantastic.
Yeah, their new book. This is so good.
That's
and it
so
teaches you how to do comics. So if you're interested in that, it's a great story. And then it teaches you how to do comics. So
awesome.
Yeah, we're going to have Raina on in the fall. Very excited. Very excited.
She's incredible. She knows me. You can say hi. She'll remember. I think she has a photographic memory, and that's the only reason. But
I'll tell her that you said hi.
Yeah, say hi from Kaz Windness, your favorite children's book author illustrator that you've never heard of. Hi.
Oh boy. So I was going to, we're just going to have you back.
Have me back.
What do you think?
Yeah, we didn't even get into the stuff that we were thinking that we would get into, did we?
No. I say this all the time.
It's organic. See, it's a conversation.
We could talk about
planned out.
We could talk about education.
Organic. I always talk like Penelope Cruz at the grocery store. Look, it's organic. We had an organic conversation. We had organic tomato.
Yeah, we're definitely going to have you back on. And thank you so much for sharing your late afternoon with us. And also, there are a lot of really great things in the chat. Our good buddy Marshall's like, "Yo, she's awesome." And
you can unplug your school or your academy. Your own.
CUDDLEFISHACADEMY.com. Yep. Yeah, that's right. That's it. So come take classes. We do coaching. I don't know why people don't use it more. Like you can get a manuscript or portfolio review for $25 because we want to keep it affordable. We really care about the quality and we know how difficult it is to access these things. I mean, and we love doing it. So, and you can get other coaching, and we have tons of, you take classes on your own, and we have graphic novel stuff, and we have picture book stuff, and we have business stuff, which is the other stuff they don't teach very well in art school, which is a whole other subject that we can talk about later at another time. But Cuddlefish, please come to CUDDLEFISHACADEMY.com for all your children's book illustration and writing needs.
I love it. And, we're kindred spirits because that's a giant part of why we do this program.
Yeah,
is to just put this into the world, and so you don't get bum information from bad sources.
Yes, and there's so much of it, and it makes me so mad.
Well, thank you so much. We're going to start wrapping it up. Mike, you have any last words for us?
I would just say it was great to meet you. It's funny how there's a lot of similarities where we all sort of touch on things in our process, but I think it's really interesting to especially it's very important to help young people steer, because there's so many things that you don't even know the questions to ask.
Exactly.
So
spot on.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this. Thank you
Yeah.
for all you're doing. And thank you for having me on the show. I know I'm kind of a different sort of section of things, but
No, I think
yeah.
I think it all intersects.
Mhm.
You know, it all, because I really think that it's all solving a problem. Whether you're solving a problem for a graphic novel,
Oh,
you're trying
yeah.
to tell a story, or you're doing a kid's book or a comic book. You know, I don't think, you know, they're kissing cousins. I don't think that they're
Yeah.
that far.
They're a chew and save Santa Claus for one limbless child.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That'll be my kid's book, Chew and Save Santa Claus.
For limbless children. Oh, no.
That's right.
I
That's
started
right.
crossing the line there. I should
That's
really.
right. You know,
probably shut up
get your school lunch. Chew and Save Santa Claus will help you.
Save Santa Claus. Yeah.
All right, guys, we're going to put a pin in it for tonight. Thank you so much, Kaz. Thank you again. You have earned yourself a second appearance on Pencil to Pencil.
Woo! That's what I was going for. That second appearance.
Yeah, your whole career was worth that. Who cares about
I made it. I finally made it.
You've
right.
indicted sirloin of
Right.
beef.
Oh, wait. I'm going to do it. And then.
Oh, we didn't do it yet. All right, we're going to do it. All right, hold on. let's get out of here. Guys, I think, what did John Wick say? I think I'm back. So I think we're back, you guys. So we don't know what we're doing next week, but you'll be the first to know when we do. We'll let you know. Please make sure that you like, subscribe. Please thumbs up these sessions. How are you not hitting the like button? Please share, like. And guys, you know, Cumberbatch told me we're in the end game. So even on our way out out the door, we still need to make stuff. We'll still keep creating, and don't forget.
So important.
So important. Go ahead, Kaz. Get them ready. So make sure you wash those Kirby hands. There you go. Oh, I love it. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Thanks a lot, Kaz.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.